introduce the better half. Or you are introducing the better half.
If you like. It's your show. Up here. So, we do have one more guest. I think you know who I'm talking about. Let's welcome to the stage everybody in a minute. We're going to just watch a little reel, and then you'll see who our next guest is just momentarily. So we'll run that reel first.
Let's start.
Here it comes, a little going away present for you. Well, what a surprise! Surely you must have suspected something before now. You really think you have a chance against a Super Saiyan like me? The sleeper has awakened. I am the Prince of all Saiyans once again. It's over 9,000. This is amazing. I feel incredible.
Yes. Hey, I'm trying.
Fresh out of the factory with no warranty and already broken. I am the most powerful Saiyan in the universe. Shot!
I love you. Kill my voice tonight.
There you go.
That was nice. Thank you, guys.
Wow.
What's up, everyone?
That's the only voice I can do right now.
You're going to get a lot of pink cards tonight. Yeah. So, welcome to Melbourne, gentlemen.
Hey, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This is amazing.
Yeah, we were in Sydney over the weekend for Supernova, which was awesome, by the way.
It's a little bit like our Shelbyville.
What'd you say?
It's like our Shelbyville and we're Springfield.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You guys don't like the you guys have a rivalry with Sydney?
Well, they have a rivalry with us.
You guys have a way cooler looking city, I'll tell you what. Like, if I had to wear a city, I would wear Melbourne. I wouldn't wear Sydney. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
If they were shoes, I would wear Melbourne 10 times out of 10.
Now, are you on medication because of what happened to you? Is that because that's a great story.
That is true.
Sure. Chris was lucky enough to meet some of our locals while he was up in Sydney, actually. The eight-legged kind.
Yeah, you see, normally if I got stung by something in America, I wouldn't really worry about it. But you see, I had this little mark on my hand, and then I was like, oh, that's like an ant bite or something, and then it started getting worse and worse. And then I suddenly realized that it was starting to look pretty nasty. So, and in the States, again, I would go, oh man, I got bit by a spider or something like that. I'll wait it out, I can do it on Monday. But see, I'm in Australia, where you guys are at the top of the food chain for everything. Like, you have the deadliest of all animals and species of everything. I'm like, I should probably go get this checked out. So I went to the doctor today, and they put me on some medication and stuff like that, and they said if I had been bitten by something serious that I'd probably already be dead. So
you got a spider bite, right?
I did get a spider bite, and the funny thing is I met with the doctor today. I love this
best
story. I tell this forever. The doctor was very serious. He's like, I just want to ask if you have any allergy, any weird problems that you have with your, any symptoms, maybe extra tired, and I was like, well, I don't. By the way, I'm sorry. I hope that's not offensive. I try and literally do every accent I hear, even if I do it poorly. But he had this. The doctor had this weird mixture between an Asian, a Chinese Asian accent, and also Australian. So I'm trying to wrap my brain around it. I'm fascinated by it. But he goes, so have you had any symptoms? Have you been extra tired or anything? I'm like, I'm tired, but I had a long convention last weekend. He goes, any other interesting symptoms? I'm like, well, I will be honest with you. I have, suddenly been able to tell, when I can sense when a crime is being committed. And he goes, excuse me? I said, if someone's about to be robbed or murdered or something, I can feel it, I can sense it in my body. He goes, are you serious? I go, and oddly, my hands are stickier than normal, and I feel the sensation I want to climb up a building. And he goes, oh, you're talking about Spider-Man.
Well, I think
you totally trolled your doctor.
your secret is going to be safe with us anyway, Chris. We'll keep your identity.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I've been joking about it all day with people. Like when I ate lunch, I was like, hey, or before I went to the doctor, I'm like, hey, you will have known me before I became a superhero or villain. By the way, and she had no idea what I was talking about. So anyway,
That's what happened.
I'm okay, guys. I'm gonna be fine.
But if he collapses during the show, cheers will resurrect him. So, you know, keep that love coming. There we go.
Yeah,
I have no sense of means.
It hurts. It hurts. Could someone please come up here and suck the wound out of my hand? She's like, I'll do it.
She wants to do it.
Tell us a little bit about, you guys have been, could you have imagined 20 years ago, 25 years ago, you would be sitting in a beautiful theatre here in Melbourne tonight talking about Dragon Ball?
I've thought about this a lot because I guess I'm weird this way, but when I got on the show, it was like a mixture of surprise and also duh, because I was so naive and Goku-like when I first got on the show. I was like, oh, we're on TV and we're gonna be happy ever after and it's gonna be a big hit, and not knowing that many shows fail and many shows get canceled, and I had no idea if the show was going to be successful or not. And so it's a mixture of wow and of course, it's really strange for me.
Yeah, I really had no clue. I just sort of, my general attitude about most things is like, let's just see where this goes. And back in the day, I was working on it. There was no internet. You couldn't look up anything. I didn't know how popular it was. And I hadn't even seen it on television yet because I was a college student. I didn't have cable, so I hadn't even seen the show on television. Like, I guess some people are watching it, I suppose.
Yeah.
But, and I thought, I'd be working on this show for like about 6 months or a year or something like that. And 20 years later, we're still working on it.
When we finished, I remember we finished Z and we did like celebratory photos and we popped a bottle of champagne with me and Mike McFarlane, but he was directing at the time. And then a few years later, they're like, yeah, the show's coming back. Or it was a game, and the show's coming back, yeah.
In our last session, we held up the script and we flipped it off. Like we held up the last script of Dragon Ball, like, goodbye, Dragon Ball, and we flipped it off. We're like, our voices won't hurt anymore.
Yeah, that's what we're flipping it off. We love the show. We're just like,
do you know what I mean by flipping it off, flipping the bird?
Yeah. Can you guys demonstrate? What is he talking about?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. See, now I feel at home.
When I was in high school, you couldn't flip anybody the bird, you'd get in trouble, so I'd go like this, I'd go, un-F you. I'm not gonna say the word, but I would say un, and I would do it backwards. It was like, so that way I can say it.
And it's like, should you get in trouble for that or not get?
I did not get in trouble for un unless I used the word, so I would just go like that. Because I was like, it's the same thing, but backwards. Which has a completely different connotation.
Remember that in school, kids. You heard it here first. Sean said it was okay. So,
sorry if there's kids in the audience. That was probably not cool.
You guys have, we'll keep it PG from here.
Granted, you guys do watch Dragon Ball, so.
Exactly.
I don't feel so guilty. I did the GameStop Managers Conference last year. I don't know if any of you work for GameStop or EB Games or whatever the equivalent is out here. But the head of the Australian division, or like the Australian division of EB Games, he's the kind of the interim, I think he's like the interim president of GameStop at this point. And he came in to do his speech to everybody, and they were having to coach him on the side, like, you cannot swear as much as you normally do. I said, this is fun now. And they, no, you just can't do that here.
So, yeah, we're not getting into specific examples. Do you find that Americans or Australians swear more?
Well, we did notice that your greeting cards are pretty filterless. Like, the greeting cards are hardcore. We were shopping for them today because you love them so
Yeah,
much.
they're like, happy birthday, F you, and they spell it out.
Yeah, and the card will have like a naked dude, and then there's like a balloon attached to it that says phallus, and I'm like, whoa, there you go, blow on this. And I'm like, whoa, I can't give that to my dad.
Well, let's keep moving along.
Sorry.
So, you guys are voice actors, right? Let me ask you a little question. Do you think you could switch roles? Yeah, could you guys imagine you become Vegeta?
Funnily enough, we were doing 4 Kids Dragon Ball edits. They thought because I was on the show, I could do everybody else's voice. So what they did is they were trying to do a very PG-13 edit. And I was working at 4Kids Entertainment in New York, working on Yu-Gi-Oh, Yu-Gi-Oh GX, Pokemon and stuff. Chris was still in Texas, and they go, hey, just come, you know the voices well. We only need to replace one of Chris's words because we edited that. And so could you go in and do that? And I was trying to do Krillin, and I was trying to do Piccolo. Some of them I got pretty close. Chris is no way, and I couldn't attempt to do it now.
I think as the director of the show, I've had to cast a lot of these voices and find a lot of these voices for things. I could probably replace a lot of people on the show, but not me personally. But I mean, there a lot of people's voices, like you'll recognize them, but a lot of people can do impressions of it. There are very few people who can actually do an impression of Goku because Goku is just so uniquely tied to Sean's voice. Like I doubt that people come up to you and do like, I'm gonna do my Goku impression.
I've heard a couple that are decent, but there's a couple of things that are always missing, and the main thing is just most people, and there may be some exceptions, because I certainly wouldn't claim to be, I've tested this against anyone, but the screams are really, really difficult, and use a really wide tessitura, and one of the secrets is I'm a baritone, but I'm jumping in and out of my falsetto a lot, especially on bass form Goku, but you can't tell usually, and so you have to be able to jump in back and forth between that break in your voice, because I'm trying to keep it high and happy-go-lucky, and of course I lower it for different forms and stuff. So right now it's gone. So if I tried to do it right now, I go, hey, it's me, Goku. It's just gone, because I screamed the other day doing the Kamehameha during the premiere, which was epic, but then I blew my voice out sadly.
But it's been a fear of mine of like, what if something ever happened to Sean? There's probably 2 voices, maybe 3 voices on the show that I think like I probably couldn't find a voice replacement for. One would be the voice of Sonny Strait, who plays Krillin, which is a really bizarre voice. And Sean's voice, and probably Android 17's voice is so uniquely his, that he's such a weird resonance in his voice. Chuck Huber.
Yes.
But yeah, Sean has a pretty, like I couldn't even, I've had to kind of think about this in the past, like what if I ever had to recast his voice? I can't think of anyone else to do Goku's voice besides Sean. I don't know about you. Like,
you're a bass, and when we did Gogeta and Vegeta, you asked me, you said, hey Sean, could you be less peaky and valley on your reads?
Oh yeah.
Because I can't go that high and low, because Chris is so set in a low register, just because your voice is so naturally low.
There's no way I could play Goku. Like, I can't even play characters that are that nice. They like, I try to play Yamcha, and I still have to do stuff that sounds like he's like self-deprecating.
I think it's hilarious when you try to do little kid voices or try to sing really high.
Can't do it.
It's really cute. It's hilarious though.
Chris confessed to kind of not knowing how to laugh on the radio earlier today and having to practice it. So
Yeah.
I think he would struggle with the Goku.
I definitely, there's no way I'd be able to play Goku's character. Like, there's just no way. I'd have to roll around in the dirt afterwards. It'd be like, it would be just too clean of a character to play. It drives Sean crazy a little bit.
It does. I love being Goku, but I always, when you're an actor, you want juicy roles, and so when Goku Black showed up, I was like, oh, thank God. I yes, I can't wait to watch you die.
So let's just do a little straw poll here. Who likes original Goku? Give us a shout. And who prefers Goku Black? I still love the original guy.
Well, yeah, I love playing Goku Black. Well, because I get to play, evil characters, and I love playing King Kai because I love comedy, and so I love the scene of Battle of Gods where I had to play Goku and King Kai dealing with Beerus, and I really worked hard on that scene to make it to where it sounds like A, 2 different people, and B, so you guys are laughing and that it's, you're having a good time, of course.
The funny thing is, I know that one thing that Sean hates about having to do the voice of Goku is because he says he has to always put on a face when he does Goku's voice, and it is really funny. Like,
yeah, I have to do this. I look like, I always feel like I look like, I don't know if you know this actor, who's the guy, the close talker, not Paul Rudd, no, the old guy.
Giamatti?
No, the guy that was in the Eddie Murphy movies, the Beverly Hills Cop movies, the cop.
Anybody?
The tall guy, the tall skinny guy. Not Mike Judge, Judge Reinhold. And
Okay.
remember he did the close talker smiley thing where he's just like really on Seinfeld, he was the close talker or whatever, and it's always like that face is like, hey, it's me, Goku, and I always
he has to raise his eyebrows and stuff like that.
and I'm always like, but then of course you guys have seen the video when we were recording Battle of Gods, and I'm screaming like crazy, but it was a very serious scene. And when I'm doing the King Kai thing, it's always very jolly, and it's just a fun voice to do. It makes me laugh, so I hope it makes you laugh.
Wind it back a minute. You were talking about Vegeta, so just tell us how that works in the studio doing the voice, because there's a technical.
Vegito?
Vegeta.
Vegito and Gogeta are done the same way. It just depends if it's Vegito because it starts with a V, and we just kind of decided
Oh,
to
this is a
split
good
it up this
idea.
way, even though it's not really technically supposed to be that way. But like, if it starts with a V, it's Vegito. I get to go first. If it starts with it's Gogeta, he gets to go first. The first actor records the line as it's written and tries to get it correct for the mouth movements and stuff like that. And then the second person comes in and has to do as good of a copy of the first person as possible. Now, when I do Vegeta, like, I can kind of stay closer to Vegeta's voice because he can do a closer version of Vegeta than I can do a version of Goku. So I kind of ask him when he does his Gogeta voice that he lowers his voice a little bit and doesn't make it as like crazy as like his reads for Goku. And then we use some software called Source Connect. Vocaline. That's used on Hollywood films to kind of sync up audio that they recorded on a set with the stuff that they might record in the studio. And we use this computer software to kind of line them up and make them sync perfectly.
So there's something for you studio nerds out there, you little facts about.
Yep.
So we're going to talk a little bit now about Broly. And what did you guys think when you first heard that Broly was coming into canon?
At first we were like, we have somebody new. But then they called us and said, don't worry about it. We're rebooting Broly and we're gonna redo the character and redesign it and retell the backstory. You're gonna love it. And so when we got the script and then you saw the first cut.
And I was disappointed, and not because I didn't like the original Broly. It was more like, come on, he already rebooted Frieza. Like, what are they gonna do now? But then when we saw the script, we're like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be really cool. And then when we started seeing the footage come in, we're like, holy crap.
Man, I thought we were gonna show 20 years, made my head spin. I mean, I was just like, we gotta slow it down for the Broly fight, because I couldn't keep up. I was blown away. And about 3/4 of the film, the animators decided to drop acid and break through the wall of reality. And it's like, I can just see the writers go, what should we do now? I have this. Like, it blew our minds. And remember we saw those flaps like, oh, sorry, I'm not supposed to say that, mouth movements, where we were told that's a different word for us in America. That means mouth movements,
yeah, the flaps,
not something else. So, remember when
we're supposed to, when we're recording,
Let me jump in here. Real quick. There are people in the audience who haven't seen the film. I'm not sure if you guys.
I was about to ask how many people
who
have
hasn't
not
seen
seen
it?
it.
It's a good number.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's about 30-40% maybe. And so there's one moment during that. Well, I don't think it's a spoiler to talk about the what.
Not at all.
You tell it.
There's a moment where, like, as he was talking about, everything goes kind of buck wild, and you'll know it when it happens because you'll start to have a headache and a seizure and stuff. But it's this scene. It's this moment where Goku and Vegeta are kind of falling backwards, and there's a mouth movement for it, like literally out of nowhere, it just goes meh meh, and there was nothing.
There's nothing in the Japanese script. There was nothing in the audio, was there?
No, nothing.
So we translated from listening.
So and we just literally recorded what Sean said when he first saw that. He was like, "What the?" Yeah. I was like, "Let's do that. Let's use that. Let's go. Let's come in for it." So we recorded the line like, "What the?" And that's it.
And
you're gonna say that when you see it. For those of you who haven't seen it, you all who've seen it know what we're talking about. Yeah.
Watch out for that.
I don't even know.
All right, and so look,
Wasn't
there's been
thinking.
some rumors circulating, and I think there might even been an article on Kotaku today about the next thing that's coming. What do you guys?
Next.
Where are we going?
You know, we honestly don't have any insider information than what's available on the web, but I think the Dragon Ball team in Japan did say a few weeks ago that they're, in the very, very early stages of a new movie, but I don't really, honestly, I don't know anything. They don't tell us anything until it's time to start going, because they're trying to keep their IP protected, and they're trying to keep things secret, and they're trying to keep things going. Do you know anything? You don't know anything more than I do you?
You would have seen the.
All I know is that I think we're finally gonna get to see kind of like a Yamcha's next transformation. I think
This guy's
We got some people in here like
I'm gonna record that.
they're gonna call it Resurrection. Why?
You're a fan. You read that manga, right?
Oh yes, it's called A Case of Being Reborn as Yamcha. Have any of you read that?
It's a real manga.
It's an actual manga about this otaku kind of super nerd. Dragon Ball knows everything about Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
This kid is daydreaming in class, where he's staring at a pretty girl, and then accidentally gets hit by a car or something,
make
falls
it
on his
serious.
head, and wakes up, and he's literally at the beginning of Dragon Ball. as Yamcha. He wakes up in Yamcha's body with all the knowledge of everything that happens in Dragon Ball, so he's able to like be the hero of the Dragon Ball story, and it's really funny. You should.
I get a feeling there's a number of people out here that's just like, that sounds like just such a great thing.
He likes it.
Keep your fingers crossed, keep wishing. So, just take us on a little journey. Imagine you're in Japan and you
Just
pitch
next now.
next to
While recording.
personal biases, go for it. What would you pitch for the next
I had a couple ideas. The serious idea is, you know, Goku is hidden somewhere and a new generation of fighters have to find him to train them like Master Roshi. But the other idea I had was that Goku hits his head again and becomes evil and Vegeta has to teach him how to be nice. Which to me is a recipe for comedy.
See, I think you could combine those two ideas. It could be Goku is off somewhere, he's evil now, and these young fighters have to find Vegeta, who has to reluctantly bring them to Goku and say like, this isn't gonna work, guys. He's not a good guy anymore.
And maybe Vegeta's jealous that Goku's like better than Vegeta's old self in terms of evilness, you know? He's jealous.
His walker is twice as powerful as mine. What's happened to me? I've joked about, I think I joked on the panel at Supernova, like I keep having this vision of what would happen if Vegeta actually, they resurrected planet Vegeta. Like they wished for the dragon, like let's bring planet Vegeta back. But then Vegeta would have to make a speech to everybody and go, all right guys, welcome back. Yes, a lot has happened. Okay, look, this is gonna come as a surprise, but we no longer have jobs. We don't destroy planets. No, we have to be nice. No, we cannot eat our enemies anymore. We don't have enemies, actually, we have children. And we stick around and spend time with them.
And the Mechis become the greatest babysitters of all. And the Mechian babysitter agency.
Yeah, Piccolo's opened this giant, babysitting service.
Another successful pitch, everybody. Well, we're going to keep it moving. This little game we want to play. I'll bring up the next slide if we can.
So,
Keep it there. Tonight's game is a little game of Would You Rather.
yes, the game.
You need not look at the slide.
I'm sorry, I was distracted by some wonderful laughter.
See, now he's not laughing.
No,
He's not even laughing. He won't even laugh when someone makes fun of his laugh.
Now, let me ask you my first question. Would you rather have Sensu beans or the hyperbolic time chamber in real life?
Yes, me and Chris.
Hyperbolic time chamber for me all the way, man.
Sensu
That's because you have kids.
I know. I want to spend a year in there, and then when I come out, I've only missed like 24 hours.
And then your wife's like, you're so refreshed, how do you do it?
I got a time chamber, and I speak Japanese now.
But you would very quickly start aging more than everybody outside. It'd be onto you, wouldn't it?
Well, then I go to his house because he probably will pick sensu beans, right?
True, how'd you guess? Because that's what I want. Yeah, I like the idea of sensu beans. And so some audience member, or someone who had said when I was asked this question before, that they don't cure cancer and other diseases, they just heal you from combat. And I was like, well, that way I can just extend my life. You know, I get a disease as I get older, I just pop a sensu bean, I'm good for another 10 years.
Do you know what? I didn't understand it when that audience member said that in our other panel, but come to think of it, if the sensu beans were able to like help some sort of diseases and stuff like that, then they would have just been able to give Goku a sensu bean instead of that purple flavored medicine.
Well, yeah, because
they gave it for the heart virus.
That's true. So
they apparently aren't that useful. They can bring it back almost from the dead, but they can't.
well, the
cure
corn's so
heart disease.
stingy with them, and they haven't figured out how to scale up and mass produce them yet. How hard is it to plant 1,000 sensu bean plants? Like,
I mean, look at Yajirobe, he doesn't move around very much.
that's true. He's playing video games in the hyperbolic time
It's
chamber.
always important.
And they're so crunchy.
Yeah, they're very
super
crunchy. Every time they eat them, it sounds like they're chewing their bone.
Yeah, have you ever noticed that? Like when they give him, Gohan's almost dead, he's laying there, they stick one in his mouth, it's like, they're very
Just
crunchy.
green paint on something else. How'd you go on these?
Like a sensu bean shake, a flat white sensu bean, like the coffee beans.
These guys order coffees like they're from Melbourne, by the way. I had to pick up a couple of coffees earlier today, and I ended up having to write down each person's order. I'm like, hang on, you want a soy, what?
Flat white.
Yeah,
coffee.
flat white, you got that down. That's
Yeah.
That's a Melbourne.
Oh man, yeah, we look forward to that.
I've been going to Australia almost 20 years now, and I love how McDonald's just last year is like, we got Australian flat white coffee, and I'm like, I've been drinking it since 2001. And they act like it's all bad. I said, I've had the real thing, and then my Nespresso machine just came out with. I just bought these last week. It says Australian iced flat white coffee, and I'm like, why is it iced? I never drink it iced in Australia. They're capitalizing on the flat white thing.
Are they using a Aussie guy in the ads, or are they using?
I think they are, like Australian. And it's so fun they use an Aussie guy, because I remember when they were doing the Outback Steakhouse ads, which is an American chain that's supposed to be very Australian, and they had this guy, I swear he was doing a fake Australian accent, because he goes, and don't forget to get a juicy sirloin corned beef. And I'm like, what the hell kind of accent is that? I used to hear like, juicy sirloin corned beef. I'm like, this doesn't sound like an Australian. So you some weird.
I can't even imagine what a iced coffee is here, because you guys are really sparing on your ice here. It's like if they had the instructions for the flat white iced coffee, it'd be like,
Yeah, it does have
iced
instructions.
coffee, put 2 ice cubes in it, because that's all you guys use here.
No, so iced coffee in Australia, you get, it's an iced latte is what you're talking about. If you want an iced coffee, has ice cream. It's superior.
Really?
Yep.
But with iced latte or iced coffee, where are you guys at on this?
Iced coffee.
Not even there.
I did notice the soy flat whites I get here are far superior to the soy quality I get in the US. It's really wonderful.
Rest of tonight's panel's on coffee, by the way. Actually, I have another would you rather. Would you rather have real Dragon Balls or real Saiyans in real life?
Bigger.
Well, last time I said real Dragon Balls, but then I thought next up real Saiyans. If I was a real Saiyan, that would be cool, because shooting energy out of my hands, flying,
Hell
and
yeah.
getting stronger when I get close to death, etc., and heal would be pretty amazing. And having incredible strength, that would be pretty amazing.
It would be cool if I was a Saiyan, then like my hair when I'm a Super Saiyan would grow up like a little bit, just like, and it would look like Sting, and like, just like,
Dude, you gotta do a video where you go, ah, and then you just have somebody animate, just like a little bit of blonde hair.
and then I can't see.
You can't see when you go Super Saiyan because you're there.
Alright.
I didn't even take any of your medication.
You guys, feel free to yell out as I'm calling these out. Let's get a prison riot vibe in here. All right. So the next one I got for you is: would you rather learn the instant transmission move or major moves absorption?
I'm down with instant transmission, because then I can come to Australia, get a flat white, and then take it back. Flat white coffee, home, done.
Yeah, I
This is
could.
real coffee, mate.
I would do it really fast and
wouldn't
sell
take
it to
instant
America. Like, where'd you get this delicious coffee in Australia? Just a second ago.
Yeah, I couldn't be trusted with that technology.
Oh, that's true.
Oh man, I'm already bad enough about like messing with people's phones and stuff. I would screw with their entire lives. Everyone would be so messed with by me. I wouldn't.
I believe it.
Wouldn't
He's
have
a master
friends.
pranker.
Yeah, I prank people a lot, as often as humanly possible. Like I really love to prank people.
So that kind of leaves you with absorption as your preferred power.
Yeah, as you can tell, I've already started absorbing a lot of things. Like I've begun the absorption process of all of your foods here, which are really good.
All right, I got one more for you. This is one that used to divide crowds, but not so much anymore, I'm sad to say. So, would you rather have the world of Dragon Ball merge with the Marvel Universe or the DC Universe?
Marvel.
You guys are so predictable. Yeah, there we go. There's some people out there
Be
like
cool with
cakes.
DC there.
Am I answering? Yes. I'm a bit of a. I'm a little more of a
Yeah,
DC
DC
fan. I just like to see. I wish I could do the Goku voice right now, because I'm trying to picture a conversation between Goku and Batman. He's like, I'm gonna throw these bat rings. Cool. I'm gonna blast energy out of my hands and fly. I'm gonna drive this pebble. I'm doing your voice. I'm trying to do the Christian Bale Batman. I'm doing Chris's voice. He's gonna drive a car there, and then by the time he gets there, Goku's done defeating the Joker.
Yeah, I just love them both so much. It's hard to choose. Okay, guys, seriously. I I'm really not, like, I think last time I was asked this, I said it would be more of the Cartoon Network universe. It would be like the Steven universe. Like, I'm not really into I didn't grow up on comic books. It was like something I just didn't follow. So I kind of watch them as entertainment. I'm just not into comparing them because I really don't care as much. Sorry.
Well, I guess if you merge with the Cartoon Network universe, we could have Vegeta fighting Samurai Jack. So much of an evil.
See, I can deal with that.
But of course, if you take the Dragon Ball universe into DC, we get to see that Goku versus Superman fight.
Yeah. I can ask that question a lot, and I always
makes
default to
Superman
God
rankings
mode
crazy.
because when you're a god. But then I defend the Superman supporters by saying this. Well, if Earth is not in danger and Goku just wants to fight, he'd be like, "Hey, get up to the yellow sun and get really charged up, and then I'm gonna fight you," which would be a stupid move. But if his friends are in danger, Goku would do instant transmission and take Superman to a planet with a non-yellow sun and then beat the crap out of him. So that would be. Of course, a friend of mine is a Superman fan. Yes, but it takes a while to fade. I go, could it last that long? That's cool. So
He would take him to a non-yellow planet and then become best friends with him.
hanging out, having a good time.
Yeah, exactly. You got all those great stories where you like fight.
Or they argue over their origin story. Superman's like, "You stole my origin story. You stole my origin story."
We don't talk about it.
Oh, sorry.
All right, so actually we got a bunch of questions from you guys. Who out there submitted a question? Yeah, a few people. Well, you 6 people all going to have your questions read tonight. Congratulations.
I didn't even know instructions on how to
First
do it.
question
It's often here.
is from Carlton.
Woo!
Carlton, right here.
Right here.
Yeah, Carlton, John.
And he wants to know, do you think Goku and Vegeta will eventually have their final and strongest battle? How do you imagine it would be?
Goku and Vegeta have their final and strongest battle. How bad would it be?
At each other? You guys tell me.
I mean,
I think at each other.
I'm sorry?
I think the question, Carlton, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
The question really goes to versing each other.
Yeah.
Versing each other.
Versus each other? It's hard to imagine because they've slowly become friends. So Vegeta would have to be really upset, I think. Because Goku would just be like, "No, it's okay, it's just fine, it's cool, it's fine." But I don't know, what do you think, Chris?
I mean, it would sort of make sense. I could see like Dragon Ball Z, kind of like the Dragon Ball story ending there. Like, all right, let's have our final fight, and then they go to almost punch, and then the show's over. Or they fight, and then they do this epic punch, and Vegeta finally knocks out Goku. It's like, and then he kills him. And then Vegeta's like, "Oh no. Who am I going to train with? This was a terrible mistake. I have no friends or anyone stronger than I am anymore."
And then Vegeta's got to find the Dragon Balls.
Yeah, and then he just, and then he just kill him. That's a really dark ending. Sorry.
Okay, on to the next question. This one is from nameless intellectual fan, and they ask, throughout the entire Dragon Ball franchise and video games, how have you developed your characters over that time, and how has each variation of the character and writing affected your performance and understanding on a psychological level?
Well, you asked the question kind of like the question I'd ask, because I tend to get that way. Part of it has to do with how we've dealt with the translation and the script adaptation, because when we first started doing Z, the general edict in the United States in the late 90s, early 2000s was make it as American as possible, and that is including changing kind of the themology of Goku being a hero who is not necessarily altruistic, as Akira Toriyama said, but likes fighting the strongest no matter what, and if the Earth gets saved, then that's cool. Whereas we had originally written like Goku was more of an altruistic, hero, savior, Jesus-like character, so to speak. And once we got to Kai, it was only then I recorded a lot of Z, and we didn't really have access to original Japanese scripts. It was just the adaptation, so I was just trusting the writers. Once we got to Kai, and I started understanding the true power of the story of Dragon Ball and understanding the Goku relationship with Vegeta, because it was very much like the manga. I was like, oh, I get why this is so cool now. Why did they do this from the beginning? And then that day forward, I started insisting on Japanese scripts being in the booth to really steward and preserve the character, to honor the character the way Akira Toriyama had intended. And I've carried that on all the way into Super, which I'm still recording. And as far as psychological understanding, I'm constantly grabbing for more depth with Goku because he's so simple. But I always have interpreted Goku as being a metaphysical representation or metaphorical representation of the beginner's mind, and he's always in a childlike state. So he doesn't really evolve or grow or change that much. It's a bit, and he does learn new things, but he always has to stay childlike, whereas Vegeta's slowly becoming nicer, and Piccolo's becoming a babysitter, and Yamcha's staying as douchey as he always is. So, you know, and I think it's important that Goku stays that way because that's why he's so beloved, I think, in Japan. And the other weird thing is I can't tell if Goku's like gaslighting everyone, an idiot, or is just so smart he's playing an idiot because he has hidden wisdom. Like, he played the long game against Cell. He kept that Gohan secret in his back pocket forever. That's a smart, really smart strategy. So he's not really an idiot. You know, he's just, he's, I don't know, I think what really embodies it is the autonomous ultra instinct, where he's just so automatic and so one with it. It's just, I'm going on a tangent here, but yeah, that's kind of how I've tried to understand this, and I'm always looking for nuggets of what Akira Toriyama says about the character. I wish I could have a conversation with him, but I've never been able to. Chris has met him once, long time ago.
And if I had known that I would never see that person again, I would have like absorbed the experience a little bit more, because it was when I was first working on Dragon Ball. This was like it was the launch of the Shonen Jump magazine, which would have been in like 2001 perhaps, or 2000. And they're like, Akira Toriyama's gonna be there. Like, oh, Creator's gonna be there. And I shook his hand, and then I realized, and then after that, I found out that like the dude never leaves his house. And that was a very rare thing to even see the guy. So I remember what he looks like, and I remember he had a very sweaty handshake because he was very nervous. And my favorite thing that came out of that panel that they did is someone asked him like, what happened to launch? And that's a question that's been on my mind for a really long time. He goes, I forgot.
Which is funny. Which is funny because I watched Resurrection F in the Egyptian theater sitting right next to Masuka Nozawa, and I got a very similar answer when I said, where's Chi-Chi? And she went, she's at home. With this lovely, cute accent, and she's wonderful. I love meeting her.
It's like he didn't want to give you the real answer. You know, it's just going to try and brush it aside. She's at home.
Yeah, she was like, whatever, you know.
The secret is too dark.
Oh.
All right, so
She's buried underneath the house.
Before we move on from that, I have one thing to add to what Sean was saying. Like, I've always had a really weird opinion of Goku, and it's always been frustrating because I have a feeling that some of my interpretation of how I feel about Goku is also through Vegeta's lens. I kind of hated Goku's character for a long time. Like, he was like almost annoyingly good. Like, if the story was up to Vegeta, though, Dragon Ball would have been over in like 9 episodes. Because they're like, let's just go in and destroy them now. And then they're like, okay, let's do it. And then the show would be over and it wouldn't be as fun. But there's something in this movie you're about to watch that really, really profoundly affected me. And it happens, those of you who know what I'm talking about, it's in a scene that you all are familiar with. What you guys know that Goku was sent from Planet Vegeta as a baby and stuff like that. But they have this moment between Goku's parents in this movie we're about to watch. And it's this moment where before, as we've always seen this personification of the Saiyans as always being these like angry kind of warrior race type of people who didn't care about anyone. But one thing you're going to notice is like as they're running off, Goku's father Bardock has this like conversation with Goku's mother in this film, and they say, and I'm sorry, I'm going to spoil it for you, but it's not really,
You're only spoiling for 40% of the audience.
Yeah, good. He said, she's like, why are you doing this? Why are you trying to save your son? He goes, I don't know, I spent my entire life destroying, and finally, like, I just feel like saving something for once. And for the first time, I felt like maybe it was predestined for Goku to be a good guy, and to be to be the person that Goku is, not just because he fell on his head as an infant, which is what it seems to be, like as they portrayed him in Dragon Ball Z. It seems like maybe it was that kind of moment of goodness that his father had that kind of injected into him and sort of helped him with his destiny to become a better warrior.
You never told me that. that's interesting.
But it's my favorite part in the film. I love seeing Goku's parents. And I'm not even a Goku family kind of guy, but I love Bardock. I love King Vegeta. I love Paragus. I love the whole first half of the film. Maybe even more than the second half, because I just love being a fly on the wall during that whole early Saiyan history stuff.
All right, thank you. So our next question is from Eliza and family. And Eliza and family would like to know, what is your favourite arc? Right down here, thank you, Eliza and family. What is your favourite arc from all the Dragon Ball franchises and why? Favourite arc?
Well, people get asked about. I get asked about the arcs a lot, and years ago I got asked, and it was only after we really finished up Kai, maybe the first movie, that I figured out. Chris had kind of pointed this out to me. I love the Goku Vegeta arc, which is the arc of all of it. That whole relationship is its own arc, and I realized that's my favorite thing. I mean, you know, either of those characters gets killed off, the show's over. It's, you know, of course they have Dragon Ball, so they just resurrect them. That's my favorite arc, yeah. And the last three movies, Battle Gods Resurrection F and Broly are just the best work we've ever done, and best movies in the whole franchise. It's amazing.
We were so excited when those movies came out. We were equally excited for this one too. But it's just, we spent so long working on the same material that had already been out in Japan for so long. We worked on Dragon Ball Z, and Kai was like still sort of repeating the same thing. We were doing a new spin on it by really like following the translations, but I felt like we were just kind of in this endless repeat of the same thing. And when those movies came out, it was so refreshing to have something brand new to work on.
You know, it's so funny. I was just thinking when Justin Cook's our producer, he's also the voice of Reddits, and I wish he had the wherewithal to troll me when we started doing Super, and he just called me up and he's like, "Hey, it's Reddits. We're going to have to record some more." Like, just totally trolled me. Because I got the information from two people. My girlfriend found it online, and then Derek Robertson, the comic artist, texted me. He goes, "You know," and I was like half asleep, and I woke up and they go, "Dragon Ball Super's coming back." Or no, Dragon Ball Super was announced, and the series is coming back, and I remember rolling over and going, "Oh shit!" Not because I don't love Dragon Ball. It's just that it's one of those labors of love. I love everything about it. People think I complain. I'm like, but you can hear it by the sound of my voice. But it's like, it's one of those things that's like, it's a labor of love because it's painful and it's difficult to do. But I just watched the Ultra Instinct episode, and I got goosebumps watching my own work, which sounds oddly narcissistic, but it's only because Kefla was so amazing. I think that I got goosebumps. And it's really strange to have that experience of having something just keep going and going and going.
But I can understand that too, because it's not only when we play these characters, we celebrate these big pivotal moments that our characters have. When Vegeta goes Super Saiyan the first time, like I was like almost moved to tears when he sacrifices himself against to save his family against Majin Buu. I was like really kind of torn up by it. And when epic moments like this happen in the show, like Ultra Instinct, I mean, you can watch it and you can be proud of your work, but it's also a pivotal moment. It's a big moment for your character too, and you feel
there's that as well.
You have this like symbiotic, like kind of reciprocal feeling that your characters have.
I think what it did for me when I watched it is when I'm watching my own work, I'm so in the show that it's hard for me to be a fan, but sometimes it gets so good, I drop out of being the guy who plays it, and all of a sudden I'm a fan for a second. And it happened to me, I was watching it earlier today. I was watching a clip someone posted, because I didn't get to see it in real time. And it's right when Goku's doing the Kamehameha against Kefla. And there's a close-up of Goku, and his eyes go, and he goes all instant, and I got goosebumps. And at that moment, I forgotten I play that guy, and I was just watching it going, this is so effing cool. And then I realized, oh wait, I'm that guy. And then I listened to the rest of it, and I was like, oh my god.
So you guys you're not even kidding around when you say doing the streams hurts your voice.
Yeah, it does.
No, not at all. We're not kidding around.
Not kidding around.
I'm sorry, what?
You're not kidding around.
Not kidding around, no.
Absolutely. And you are carrying an injury right now, as you said.
I'm sorry?
You're carrying an injury right now.
Oh, vocal injury? Yeah.
And Chris, you were talking about it earlier today as well, I believe, on the radio.
Yeah, I mean, our basic rule in the show is like you have to yell as loud and as painfully as you possibly can, or else quit. Don't do it. Like
go big or go home. And that's the way I feel all the time. There's no matter what's going on, if I don't bring it, you guys aren't going to be happy. And you know what? more. I mean, I want fans to be happy about it, and I'm always thinking about the younger kids, only because I'm not a parent, but Chris can probably tell this as a parent, and I used to be a teacher, and I know that little kids have great BS detectors. So if I bring half my game, the little kids, oh, that wasn't really great, because they're so honest, right? Where an older kid or an adult might get bamboozled by something else. And I want to make everyone happy, and I want to make a character I'm happy if he ever watches it in English. But I mean, I'm always trying to match it, no matter how high they bring the animation. I'm always trying to make my voice alone. Like, if you heard the voice separate from the animation, it should sound as epic as what you're looking at, which is extremely hard to do, and I don't think I've ever really, truly done it. It's always like, it's like a Moby Dick thing. I'm always chasing something I can't quite get, so I'm always going harder and harder just to see how far I can do it to make it sound really epic.
But that's the thing that we have in this show. Like, that's the thing that we have in Dragon Ball. It's like pretty much our only claim to fame. You could make an argument that there's better acting in other shows, or there might be better character development, there might be better animation and other things. But darn it, there will never be a show, well, it's gonna be a while before there's another show that has bigger, better screams than we do in Dragon Ball. Like, that's what we do. Like, that's what, I feel very proud of that, and it hurts, and I will be days without a voice sometimes, but I know that that's the expectation, and I feel cool doing that.
Oh, I'm more than happy. I mean, despite the pain, I'm more than happy.
Let's give him a round of applause for a minute. There's something to do. Well, I've got another question. We're going to probably get in the lightning round here before too long, but let's keep moving. So, Chris and Duke want to know. Chris and Duke? They're out there somewhere.
He's not here, he left.
Well, he's going to miss his question. Do you think Gohan will ever make a comeback, or was Mr. Gohan just a tease?
Yeah, no.
Nah.
Maybe he'll get a new tracksuit next season.
He might get a doctorate in ancient literature or something.
You
Mom
guys
wants him to study.
Well, you guys got those cool
Teachers at my
jackets
school. We'll call it.
in the
The
latest.
SAB, SAB has half his name in it.
Yeah, they almost put my whole name on the jacket.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's called that.
What does that stand for?
We don't know. Super awesome base. They're on the super awesome base
Oh, the
on the
jacket.
whole planet.
Oh,
I don't know.
Saiyan Apparel
Brand.
yes.
Coming soon to a store near you, everybody. Say an apparel brand. You got to hear first. Next question is from Nikolai. Nikolai, right here. Nikolai. And this one for you, actually, Chris. And I think it's another quick answer. He heard a rumor, Nikolai did, that you're working on another pop vinyl exclusive. Is that true? Do you have any clues?
Well, thank you very much. I'm always working on another exclusive, but at this point in time, there is no such discussion.
You better say no.
Chris suggested.
No, there's no new pop vinyl. I think there was somebody who put up like a golden haired, like a chromed out, or not chrome, that's a bad word to use in the pop community, like a metallic Majin, and to my knowledge that doesn't exist. I think that was a custom.
This is one I particularly like, and this is from Nick. And Nick wants to know, considering the large amount of power-ups at this stage, how would you both feel about maybe taking future fights in more of a technique-focused direction, allowing more of the other Z fighters to contribute?
Well, technique focused for like in technique in terms of the Goku's martial arts, or are you saying to allow other fighters?
Yeah,
to
yeah.
fight?
Like let's get some of the rest of the team involved.
I mean, they did that. They did that in Resurrection F a bit, and what I did think was really cool about, for those of you who haven't seen the Broly, there's a new move in the Broly movie. For those who haven't seen it, it's kind of a Jedi trick. And I'm not trying to reference Star Wars. That's the only thing that came to mind when I saw it. It's not based on that at all. And I actually talked to one of the producers from Japan, and I asked him a very long question about whether or not it was a new move, and the answer was yes. And but I also noticed when Goku does red-haired God mode, I found out from talking with them that it's a more of an internal energy and more of an Aikido type energy, and then the blue-haired mode is more of an outward energy. And it's a very, very cool move with Broly. It's one of my favorite scenes in the whole film. So one can make that as a technique base. But as far as the other character, I mean, didn't Master Roshi do like 3 Kamehamehas and Hulk out in Resurrection F? Tenshinhan fought. Yamcha fought, didn't he?
Yeah, they lasted all about 15 minutes. It was really good. Long time for them. I don't like to share, so no, I don't think it's ever going to happen, man.
It's not a competition.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got a few other questions here, and I think they've pretty much been covered. Chris and Rosie wanted to know if it hurts to voice act Vegeta, and we've certainly spoken with this. He's got a very rough-sounding voice, according to Chris and Rosie, Vegeta.
Yeah, it's true. It's rough. It's rough to do this voice.
But you know, when I hear the voice, it doesn't sound all that dissimilar to your own.
No, not entire. Piccolo's voice is closer to my own. Actually, it depends on the time of day. If I'm nervous about it, I think I sound a lot more like Yamcha. Like, no, I'm serious. Like, oh, hey, how's it going, man? Yeah. So.
And the other question we had from another nameless man is whether or not you guys, across the course of your career, because you've both have been doing this a long time, have you actually noticed permanent damage to your vocal cord?
It's funny. It's a funny story. I went to an ENT recently just for a checkup, and he did a throat examination of my throat and started feeling my neck, and he goes, "Man, you have huge developed neck muscles." I go, "Well, I've been screaming for 20 years." And he's like, "What do you mean?" I go, "We're going to show," and I scream, and I've seen video of me in the booth, and I've seen muscles flex and tense and probably doing things a singer would. Our singer coach would tell me to not do. And then he also looked at my vocal cords, and this is like less than a year ago, and he's like, "Your vocal cords are perfect and normal and great." And so I don't think I have. I've noticed, right now you can't tell because my voice is damaged right now, but I've always had a really good healing ability with my voice. I also sang in choirs for years, and I'm classically trained on the French horn, which all the breathing and that you bring to that. Chris was a choir singer in college. We went to the same college at different times. We just found out the other day that we were both in all-state. Well, I was in all-state orchestra. He was in all-state choir in Texas, right next to each other. He's younger than me, and so he finished, and then we were in the same organizations, but never bumped into each other because of our age difference.
Yeah, when I started university, I was actually studying to be an opera singer.
And that's behind you now?
No, it's way behind me.
Yeah, I can't even believe you would.
I didn't like it.
I think we're going to get a few musical numbers in some future Dragon Ball based on everything we're learning.
Bingo!
So that leads me to a follow-up question. If you guys went in this line of work, what do you imagine you would be doing if you went in this line of work?
I'd probably be either doing stand-up comedy, which I used to do, and I'd probably be playing at a symphony somewhere, or doing some one-man show where I run my French horn through an electronic distortion box and try to play guitar solos. I play an electric guitar and I play it, but I play horn, or I don't know what. I was really considering, when I was considering a career change, I was looking into doing other things like improv comedy or other types of acting. And then my first audition was Dragon Ball Z. There was an open casting hall in Dallas. Chris was working in staff at Funimation. He was not a friend of mine. I didn't know him. And my friends are like, "You're so good at doing voices," because I'd done voices as a kid all the time since I was like 4 or 5 years old, because a lot of the television I saw when I was a kid was really boring. So I'd turn on the volume and just make up parts, especially black and white television, in real time. And I'd make them talk, and I'd make them do this and that and the other, and I'd copy all the cartoon voices. My friends said, "Oh man, you do voices, you should do this." I'm like, "No, I'm gonna be a French player." And they kept bugging me. It's like, "Fine, I'll do it. But if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it right." So I got really serious about it. And they were showing the Canadian version on TV, and so every day after teaching music, I would go home and I would watch Dragon Ball, and it was the only episodes that were Piccolo and Gohan in the forest. And I was like, "There's like 2 characters in this show. I'm not gonna get a part. There's hardly, I can't do either of those voices. What's going on?" I show up to ask me to read for 12 parts, and I got 3 of them. I also voiced Nail, by the way, and who is now inside Piccolo.
He was tasty.
Delicious.
I've actually had this fantasy in my mind of like Piccolo babysitting and stuff like that. He's rocking Pan or whatever, and then all of a sudden he starts to convulse, and then Nail and Kami pop out of his body, and they're like, "What the heck is happening with you?
You're a babysitter now.
We gave you our bodies,
And all you do is babysit children.
we're out of here." And then Nail and Kami become like Nami or something like that. And they fly off, and then they fly out the window, and then they blast Yamcha, and then Yamcha explodes, and then Whis rewinds it so he gets to watch Yamcha explode.
Dude, what do you do in your spare time?
I have really twisted ideas for how this show should go. I'm sorry.
I love it.
Get to work on those fan fictions, everybody. You've got half the story constructed. How about you, Chris? What do you think you're
Man, I have no idea. I'm really lucky like it's so shockingly lucky to have dropped into this particular thing.
But you were a DJ and you had a career a bit in voiceover, like radio voiceover a bit, right?
I would have done something in audio. I know I would have, because I've always been obsessed with the way things sound. Ever since I was a kid, I used to record just everything. I used to do like little radio like type things where I would record. I mean, it was basically just doing my own little radio show as a child. I had lots of different radios and boom boxes and stereos, and I would try and I'd check out, I was obsessed with sound effects records, and I would check them out of the library, and I'd play them all at the same time, trying to make like one atmosphere. So I'm thinking I might have gotten into sound design, but I can't tell you how lucky it is. Like some people go their entire life trying to get that role that really breaks them, that really people, like, that's their legacy.
What defines your life.
Yeah, and Sean and I have talked about this, like, it's really weird to get that in your first time. Like, it was my first animated cartoon role I ever got was Vegeta on Dragon Ball. That is a pretty remarkable stroke of luck. And I wonder what would have happened had I not have done that. Like, I would have grown up and I would have had the freedom to like do whatever I wanted to on the internet. And I probably would have done some sort of like YouTube show and probably gotten in trouble because I said something stupid or really embarrassed myself. So I kind of saved myself from a lot of embarrassment. But it is really hard when you book something that's like super iconic as your first thing out the door. Because sometimes we go like, man, we got to do something different, something else that defines us. But then we're like, that's kind of being greedy, I guess. I don't know. Like,
you know, I had some sadness and depression and sad times right before I got on Dragon Ball, and I'm not a terribly religious or spiritual person, other than being a really crappy Buddhist, and I'm like the angriest Buddhist on earth, and I remember just kind of putting some vibe, like just give me that thing, universe, and I will treat it like gold, I will do my best, and right after that I got on Dragon Ball, and I was really despondent, and it just changed my life. You know, it saved me. I've been through divorce and stuff.
I thought you were saying you were despondent about Dragon Ball. You were despondent, then you were happy when you got Dragon Ball.
Yes. No, I was despondent before. Yes, and then I got Dragon Ball. And even going through divorce and personal problems, like I had a place I could go to lose myself. So you guys lose yourself in the show or whatever it is you enjoy, and then I had a place to go inside Goku when I go to play, when I go to work and play. It's the same thing almost. But even when you have rough times, it was a place I could go and be safe and happy. Eternally grateful to Akira Toriyama and all the powers that be involving Dragon Ball for giving me, frankly, what I consider my reason for being on Earth. It's a very serious thing for me.
And we're grateful for you guys too, yeah?
Woo!
All right, now, you guys want to hear more from these guys, or do you want to see the movie?
More from them, more!
we can just talk for the next
We'll talk the rest of the night. We don't care. It's fine. We've already seen the movies.
I just tease you. You get the movie.
It's not any good. You're not gonna like it, guys.
So, just closing thoughts, fellas. You got a little message to the fans in Melbourne and Australia, and then we're going to have to say our farewells.
I mean, thank you guys so much for being the awesome fans you always have been since you were tiny. Since you were little tiny babies and little tiny like 6 and 7 year olds.
I don't know what you call your small children.
Sean and I were talking on another panel about how when we felt the coolest, I think, when we came to Australia for the first time.
Yeah,
because
that
we
felt
had
really
never
cool.
seen fandom quite like Australian fandom. Because we got to the event center, it was
Aussies aren't messing around.
and they took us up this elevator, they opened the door, and there was like, it felt like this many or more people that were standing there waiting for a signing.
Well, plus,
You all just started screaming, and I was like, people are screaming for us right now.
Yeah, it was crazy. And when you combine that with my only knowledge of Australia at the time, which was Mad Max and Crocodile Dundee, I was like, man, I expected everyone to be in some kind of wild gear with a hat and a knife and a car and a crossbow, and you know, and I was just, when you had that energy and that intensity, I'm particularly appreciative of cause and effect and the profundity of everything that brings us together, and it's freaky for me to play a character like this, and then we're all sitting in this room together, and I always think about those photos from the 1920s, where here was the boat team, and they were all friends together, and it's back in the day. And here we are on this special moment sharing it, and we've been coming back to Australia for 20 years, and I think it's probably the most special country we reach as far as Dragon Ball fandom is concerned. I don't want to diss other countries because they're awesome too. But as far as the uniqueness, it was the first time I'd ever left the United States was to come to Australia, and it's changed my life. Everything I have owned in Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball fandom and what has been given, and so it's I get choked up.
Give me a round of applause.
Thank you for.
Now, before we wrap it up, a couple of London fans out there, just check under your seats. You might find some gum.
Or a
You might
booger.
find booger. Or you might find a little printout of paper. It's a picture.
Yeah, I don't see anything.
There should be something stuck under your seat. Two special
Sure, I hope
people.
you guys find
We've
it.
given each
I
of
don't
you
see
a
it.
Dragon Ball Z condom.
Over here, sir, you found one. Come on up. Come on
No,
up.
it's only one. But
You are now the voice of Goku.
I'm done. Thank you.
Come on up.
Ladies and gentlemen, the new voice of Goku. Dragon Ball Z.
You win from Mr. Sabat here a copy of our Broly edition, signed by both gentlemen. Come on over and collect it yourself.
Awesome.
You won't get it from me, I'm nobody.
Hey, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
And do we find the other one? Right here, come on up, sir.
another one.
Okay, good. Yeah, we're gonna pass one up to the
Yeah,
second
the other
person.
gentleman's here.
He literally found a coin under his seat. He like,
Ah, you're the real winner.
you got real money.
This is
Come on,
completely useless.
And you are the winner,
There you go.
Here we go, sir. Congratulations.
Nice.
Watch this again when you get home.
Always showers like this.
Thank you all so much, man. I'm so happy to be here. We weren't able to come to the actual premiere of it, but this kind of feels like the premiere for us. So
It does. It's amazing.
actually, I'm not gonna lie. This is more fun than the premiere that we had.
Yeah, it's kind of perfect size. Yeah, I love it.
This was we didn't get to do a really cool interview like this in front of the theater.
Yeah, we didn't get to do that. This is great. This is really
So
great.
thank you so much for coming. You're awesome.
Thank you so very much.
Let's give it up.
Thank you.
Someone did it before.
Before I forget, if you need to use the restroom, I strongly recommend it now because you're going to wet your pants because it's so intense. You're gonna go whoop, and you'll wet yourself. So, please use the restroom before you watch this film. Thank you. Good night.
All right. Give that big Melbourne send off, everybody. Let's hear it.